Welcome back to Market Day Report. Tommy Grisafi sitting in for my friend Tony St. James. Well, is it busy? Is it not busy? We have a holiday coming up, and is there any fireworks in the markets? Let's look at corn first. Corn market was down a fair amount last night. September corn 406 3/4, up actually 3/4, seeing a little bull spreading there. December corn unchanged 421 3/4. I like the way that looks because that's a lot different than when I got up early this morning and started looking at the markets. Let's look at soybeans. Seeing some strength here. August soybeans 1037 up 7. Sep soybeans 1024.5 up 6. November soybeans 1033 up 6 cents. Yesterday was an exciting day for the wheat markets, and but not as exciting there. It's almost like that quote board's frozen. September wheat, Board of Trade wheat 549 down a quarter. Looking at December 569 1/4 unchanged. Going all the way out to the May, look at that carry 596 3/4. Going out to Kansas City here, looking at the SEP up 1 3/4. Kansas City was dragging its feet yesterday compared to the board. Looks like it's catching up a little bit. 533 price on the Kansas City wheat. December 556.5 up 1 3/4. Looking all the way out to the May, 590 up 2 cents, fighting for that $6 level. Let's head up to Minneapolis here as we go to spring wheat country. SEP spring wheat 627.5 down 1. Looking at December 645 down 1. Not too exciting board there. Cotton, see if we have any good news here in cotton. October cotton 68.06 up 38. December cotton 68.50. Not too exciting of a quote board, but I got my next guest is exciting because he's a friend. Let's bring him in, Mr. Darren Newsom, market analyst for Bar Chart. Darren, good to see you, my friend.
Good to visit with you again, Tommy.
Reading your sheet here, when you woke up, you said you weren't sleeping well last night, and corn was down like 4.5, right?
Yeah. It's just it was one of those summer nights where you just don't get a lot of sleep, and so I'd check the markets every once in a while, and I just so happened to catch it right when it was on its overnight session low. So we saw a D's down 4.5 cents, something like that at one point. It's moved off that a little bit. Looking at Jeff's weather forecasts and basically the weather forecasts that are in the market right now, continued moisture, average temperatures, so on. Across the plains and Midwest. Really, there's no weather threat at this point for the corn market. And the further we get into July, the less likely it becomes that we're going to see a severe weather market or short supply or spike market scare. So, it just seems corn's just kind of grinding along at this point.
Yeah, absolutely. And in your show notes, you'd mentioned that you're glad you're not a merchandiser of grain right now. What did you mean by that? I knew that'd make you chuckle. What did you mean? Looks like, yeah, Darren, looks like we lost Darren, but
oh, sorry, got it right
that's
there.
okay. Whatever you said was good. Repeat what you said.
Yeah, if there was ever a market or a series of markets that kept me up at night, it was wheat. And I don't have to do that anymore. And we could still see it here this morning as you were going over the prices. We should be seeing some pressure on the wheat markets, but we're not, particularly in the winter markets. We're not seeing it, tied to harvest right now. So now we'll see which side wins out through this shortened week. And if merchandisers do start to put some pressure, some pre-holiday weekend pressure on the hardwood winter market.
Yeah, and we're going to have a big gap. We're going to close tomorrow. No Thursday trade, no Friday, no Saturday, no Sunday. Geopolitics, we could be open and we could have a geopolitical event. So there's no shortage of information, right? We're 2 or 3 true social posts away from another big move in the outside markets, correct?
That is correct. And so, for what it's worth or for what it is what it is. I mean, we know these posts come along where they know their intention is to move markets. I know there used to be laws against that sort of thing, but I think that's mostly forgotten at this point. But the intention will be to move markets in some way, shape, or form, and it does tend to happen, particularly ahead of the weekend, and if it's a holiday weekend in particular.
Yeah, Darren, you stay right there. We're going to go on commercial break, and we're going to come back with more Market Day Report. We're going to be talking meats when we come back. Stay right there. Welcome back to Market Day Report. Well, the cattle market is now open. Let's not waste any time. Let's see how we're doing here. Are we having a recovery, or are we still seeing a little pressure from yesterday's sell-off? August live cattle 209.87 down 75. Oct live cattle 207.75 down 72. December cattle 207.50 52, down 80. I did go back and watch the markets open live on my laptop, and we've traded both sides here a little bit, and we're seeing a little pressure. Let's see how feeders are doing. That seems to be where the most pressure was yesterday. Feeder cattle market, August 305.22, down 80. September feeders 305, down 65. Going out to the back, no Jan 299.82, down $1, and of course the Jan 293, down $1.40. Let's look at the hog market before we bring back in Darren. Lean hogs, July 108.52, down 47. August 106.90, down just a little bit. In December 83.40, down 67. Let's bring in Mr. Darren Newsom, market analyst for Bar Chart. Darren, of all the things I watch a lot of markets. Obviously, the outside markets are the most exciting, but then the cattle market, I really watch those tickets and trade a lot more cattle than I used to. I guess people like myself just go to where the volatility is. Is that correct?
It's a great point, Tommy, and it comes back to what we saw in feeder cattle yesterday. I was visiting with a friend of mine in the cattle industry here this morning, and if we look at the structure of what happened yesterday in feeders, it just simply makes no sense. We saw a sharp sell-off, in feeder cattle. Certainly looked like, by the way, by looking at spreads, it certainly looked like it was mostly non-commercial selling, and we know this group is holding a net long futures position, so we would assume it was short. Excuse me, it was long liquidation. At the same time, it looked like there was some commercial buying, despite the somewhat questionable story about the southern border being phased open over the coming months. So none of that seems to make sense. And we look at the CME website, and we actually saw open interest increase. So it wasn't necessarily long liquidation. I think what it boils down to, as you just mentioned, there's more people, there's more, mostly non-commercial traders getting involved with the feeder cattle market these days, and it's increasing open interest. We're seeing more traders, we're seeing more trade. Meanwhile, the commercial side's basically staying on the sidelines, because why sell at this point with the volatility that we see? Just sell cash. So I think it's a fascinating thing to watch, and we see this from time to time, and it'll certainly be interesting to see how it develops.
Yeah. I'll tell you a little story, or at least our viewers, and you'll appreciate this because I know your history. But I was out last week in Nashville with one of the world's, for 5 years, he was the world's largest wheat trader at the Board of Trade. Between wheat, beans, and corn spreads, he's trading 50 to 100,000 contracts per day. You know what he said, and this is going to make you giggle. I've never walked in a wheat field.
Yeah, there's a lot of that. And, I have walked in a wheat field, and so I'm glad I don't trade wheat anymore, as we talked about earlier.
Well, it's probably how you can keep your hair and you just stay young and healthy and everything else. We have a little time left, but of the markets you track, and by the way, I've been a subscriber of yours since you started, and very proud of the work that you and your son do. Keep it up. What do you look forward to in the commodity markets? We can't all be Debbie Downer. Show us some optimism here.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I appreciate that, Tommy, as always. What can we look for here in the commodity markets? I think it's going to stay volatile. And, I think it could start to draw some more investment interest. And that certainly seems to be what we're seeing. And it's in different markets. As we talked about, we're seeing it in some in feeder cattle. We're certainly seeing it in soybean oil, which is helping to support the soybeans. Because fundamentally, there's really no reason for soybeans to rally except for bean oil. So I think we're seeing a wider net being cast over the commodity complex, something that's going to make it, more interesting, more fun to watch over the coming years.
Excellent. Well said, my friend, Mr. Darren Newsom. He's over there with Bar Chart. I hand it back to Tammy, who I'm a big fan of yours, too.
Oh, well, thank you. And Ag Bull Media, Nesvick Trading, I love you guys. You mentioned the markets are also closed tomorrow, not just the 4th?
Tomorrow night. The
Tomorrow
night session.
okay.
So we'll be open tomorrow. I'll be sitting here in the afternoon. But when we close, that's a long time
That's a long
for markets
spread.
to be closed.
Yeah, that's a long stretch. All right. Thanks, Tommy.